Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Boa Show. Today, we're going to build on the foundations we formed in the last lesson. Logic. Logic can be way more useful than just spewing out booleans. Conditions can be partnered up with if statements to create interactive blocks of code, which only run when a certain thing happens, or a player clicks on something, or a number gets too low. The if statement is a part of a bigger Python thing called control flow, everything which makes a program interactive. So, I've said enough. Let me show you the syntax of the if statement. It goes like this. If, I bet you weren't expecting that, something happens. Here you put the logic condition. After, put down a colon, and you'll find that when you press enter, the new line starts with an indentation full of white space. White space is a pretty important part of what makes Python special. In other programming languages, it wouldn't really matter now if I wrote here or here. Hold up, this seems like a curse. This makes it harder to type. But the blessing is that it is infinitely easier to read, and by extension, fix bad code, known as debugging. Anyways, this tab indentation is important. Inside this place, you write down the line or lines of code you want Python to run when this statement turns out to be true. Now, let's make this syntax real. First of all, you want to actually make a subject of the condition, the thing we're checking. For this, I'll use HP again. HP is 0. Now, in the condition bit, we can type in, remember the statement we decided upon last time, HP is lesser than or equal to 0. Okie donkeys, now write here something like print player vanquished. Run it, and you'll see that it works. Of course, we can't be sure unless we test it. Set HP to 100 and try again. Nothing happens. Cool. Before we go on, I want to quench one of the questions I assume you are burning to ask right now. These if statements are cool and all, but we haven't learned how to make it interactive to the player, and not just us guys who write the code. In other words, we can make variables, but we have no way of changing them while the game runs. Well, I promise I'll show you as soon as you get a grasp of this control flow. Now, I want to resurrect the football game example from my last video, with the power meter which you have to get just right in the middle. There are 100 units on that scale, and the lower you are, the weaker your shot, but too high and it's much too strong. Before we write the if statement, make the variable kick power and set it to 57. We're going to use the condition we used last time to check whether something is between these two numbers. So, if kick power is greater than 40 and kick power is lesser than 60. So, if this is true, we want to say perfect hit. Nice! But what if we wanted to also give feedback or do an action if something other than this happened? Like our player hit too weak or too strong. For this, we can harness the power of else. Else runs when a condition in our if statement doesn't happen. So, if kick power is good, say perfect hit. Else, and make sure that it's not indented anymore, say, well, flapdoodle. Okay, let's test it out. Kick power equals 13. Well, flapdoodle. One more, the Elif. Say there was more than one outcome that wasn't the original condition. For example, the number is too low or too high, and you wanted to do something different both times. Elif runs only if the original if doesn't happen, but it also lets you put another condition. This would be useful in a guessing game, where the player needs to know whether the guess was too low or too high. But it can be useful in our game too. So instead of else, put Elif kick power is lesser than or equal to, otherwise it'll do nothing for a perfect 40. 40. Change well flapdoodle to too low. Now we can finally put else. And since the kick power is either just right, too small, or too big, we can say much too strong. Try it out. With 13, it's fine. 57 is good. And 80 works too. Yippee! This lesson finishes off the learning curve of logic, but we still have much to learn. See you next lesson, and be sure to tackle the Conda quiz soon.